You've heard all this before, and the problem is we hear it so much that it goes in one ear and out the other, that God is love. And everything starts with God, even though we believe it starts with us. We're all here this morning because we decided to get up and come here. But what motivated us to do that? That's God. Now the problem is we can't see God. We can't see God's love. It's invisible. Even Jesus, he's no longer visible to us because he now has been crucified and risen. So, the best example of God's love is us. We are showing God's love to each other, to one another. Do we do that perfectly all the time? Oh, no. That's why if other people don't see God's love in us, it's no wonder they don't believe in God. So, and I've said this so often, again, you've heard this all before. You want to know what God looks like? Turn and look at the person next to you. That's the presence of God. And for most of us, that's hard to see because we also know that person's foibles and their things that irritate us about them. But that's the presence of God, the visible presence of God. And you know I'm not very pious. I always say, well, if you don't like that version, then look at the other side. Maybe that'll be better. But the key is, can you see the presence of God in the mirror? When you put on your face in the morning, look at that image and tell yourself, that's the presence of God. If we really believe that, if we really accepted that, I think we would think twice about treating others as we meet them all day in a rude or unfriendly way, if that's the way to say it. Today is Mother's Day. You all know that. And as I mentioned earlier, we have so idealized mothers that no woman could possibly live up to the image of that great ideal mother, because every mother is not perfect. None of us are. And sometimes the imperfections in a mother overshadow her love for her children or family or whatever. But all mothers, I think, are doing and were doing the best they were capable of because they mother the way they were mothered. We follow the example of those before us. However, regardless of the actions of a mother or the attitude, I think we can hopefully agree that her inner desire is do the very best she's able to do for her children. And then her dream is that her values and her loving actions would be incorporated into the children, and that they would then in turn share that with their children and others around them. It's the passing on of our values that is, I suspect, the desire of all of us. That's why every Mother's Day I go back to this little book, because I think this says it better than I can say it. It's Love One Another by Robert Munsch. Love One Another by Robert Munsch. And when you feel comfortable, please join me in the refrain. The mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she held him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The baby grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 2 years old. He ran all around the house. He pulled all the books off the shelves, pulled the food out of the refrigerator, took his mother's watch and flushed it down the toilet. Sometimes his mother would say, this kid is driving me crazy. But at nighttime, when that 2-year-old was quiet, she opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked him up and she rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Little boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until he was 9 years old. He never wanted to come in for dinner, never wanted to take a bath. When his grandma visited, he always used bad words. Sometimes his mother wanted to sell him to a zoo. But at nighttime, when he was asleep, the mother quietly opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked up that 9-year-old boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The boy grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew until now he was a teenager. He had strange friends. He wore strange clothes. He listened to strange music. Sometimes his mother felt like she was living in a zoo. But at nighttime, when that teenager was asleep, the mother opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if that great big boy was really asleep, she picked him up and she rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The teenager grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. He grew up. When he grew up until he was a grown-up man, he left home. He bought a house across town. But sometimes on dark nights, Mother got into her car and drove across town. And if the lights in her son's house were all out, she'd open his bedroom window, crawl across the floor, look up over the side of the bed, and if that great big man was really asleep, she picked him up and she rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. Well, that mother got older. She got older and older and older. One day she called up her son and said, you better come and see me because I'm getting very old and sick. So the son came to see her. When he came in the door, she tried to sing the song, and she sang, I'll love you forever. I'll like you for all. But she couldn't finish. She was too old and sick. So the son went to his mother, and he picked her up, and he rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while he rocked her, he sang her song. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my mommy you'll be. Well, that night the son came home, and he stood for a long time at the top of the stairs. Then he went into the room where his very newborn baby daughter was asleep. He picked her up in his arms, and for the first time, he rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And for the first time, he sang her this song. I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. as I'm living, my baby you'll be. We celebrate God's love. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you for watching the homily on Easter Sunday here at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in New Berlin. We invite you to join us any weekend for worship with us, or you can watch us on mysaintelizabeth.com or on Facebook. Happy Easter.